AJ.
Video. We gotta be quiet. AJ, come on. AJ.
I'll put something in us so I think it's it.
Well, there you go. All right, week 1 is over, guys. That was a good week. I enjoyed it. So I hope you guys did too. I have seen some movement, some ads, and some drops. I've heard of a couple of trade rumors out there, so that's always good. I'm glad to hear that. I hope you guys enjoyed the Monday night games. I did enjoy the first one. The first one was actually pretty good. Second one against the 49ers and the Rams, man, I hated that one. I just abandoned that game altogether. About halftime, I just went to bed. So I hope next Monday night game is better. All right, on to the predictions that I made from last week. 3 out of the 5 matchups weren't bad. I did miss the Wookiees and Bombers. The Bombers ended up winning that one. I did pick the Wookiees. And then I sort of quasi-guessed that the Housewives would beat me. But I ended up winning by a very slim margin. To be honest with you, David Johnson, man, I tell you what, he put up more points than I thought he was going to. He made it a very, very close game. And it didn't help any that I didn't get much help from my quarterback. So that was probably one of the most nervous games I've had in a while. So all in all, I can't complain. 2 out of 5 missed. 3 out of 5 made it. So on to the predictions for this week, week 2. All right, first matchup for week 2 is the Boscos and the Madmen. I am definitely going to go with the Madmen on this one. I think I'm going to win. The Boscos did put up a pretty good score last week, but looking here, I made some roster changes I think are going to help me out a lot. So I am hoping that that I pull out the win on this one. The only thing that I'm a little worried about is the Boscos have Seattle's defense, and they're going up against the LA Rams this week. And to be honest, after last night, the Rams offense is pitiful. So unless they have some big miraculous aha moment and figure everything out, I think that her defense is going to score quite a few points. That said, I like my running back matchups. I like a lot of my wide receiver matchups this week. Very favorable in all accounts. So here's to me winning against the Boscos and going 2-0. All right, the next matchup is Breeze a Blowin' and the Aristocrats. I'm a little excited to watch this game this week. These matchups are going to be pretty interesting after the points that Breeze a Blowin' put up. 151 points last week. Pretty incredible. I do think that a couple of their matchups this week are a little less favorable. So I think it's going to be a closer game, but I am going to have to go with Breeze a Blowin' on this one again. This week, they just have a really, really strong team. Let's just hope that the Ravens can definitely do something against Cleveland. So we'll see what happens there. And that's it for this one. All right, Moose and Wookiees. Well, both teams didn't have the greatest week last week. Their matchups were pretty tough. Unfortunately, they got the raw end of the stick on that one with their matchups with a lot of their position players. I do like the chances of Cam Newton against San Francisco. So I think that he's going to put up quite a few points for the Moose. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to call the Moose on this one. I think they're going to pull out and win against the Wookiees. So that's going to be another close one, I think, to watch. Like I said, a lot of the matchups have changed from last week, so hopefully they get a little more production out of all of their guys. All right, next matchup, the Apples and Funches. I'm going to go with Funchess on this one. I think they're going to pull it out. They've got a lot of good matchups. Fitzgerald against Tampa Bay, I think he's just going to run all over that defense. And Andrew Luck against Denver. I don't know if there's going to have a lot of production out of that. I've got a lot of confidence in my boys in Denver on that defense. I think he's going to get pretty banged up, and I think that there's going to be a little bit of a message in the back of Andrew Luck's mind. He's going to know that DeMarcus Ware is just going to come after him, and it's just he's going to remember getting hurt last year, so it should be interesting. And they are in Denver, so it's going to be an interesting one. But I am going to go with Funches on this one. All right, last matchup: Housewives and the Bombers. I am probably going. This is probably going to be the closest one, the closest matchup this week, I think. A lot of good matchups. Aaron Rodgers against Minnesota. I think Aaron Rodgers loves playing there. He's just gonna air it out and go crazy. Roethlisberger against Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's got a little bit stronger defense, but Roethlisberger knows how to put up the numbers. He did a fantastic job on Monday, so that should be interesting. But I think I'm going to go with the Housewives on this one. I'm going to call it out, the Housewives. It's going to be very close. Might be as close as the game that the Housewives had against me, the Mad Men, last week. But I think that the Housewives are going to pull this one out. All right. Well, now that we're done with all of that, I do have a couple of announcements. I did enter our league into a contest, if you will, with ESPN. I don't know all of the specifics, but to sum up what we would win is an all-expense paid trip for our entire league to travel to New York and hold our draft next year in the ESPN headquarters. So that should be interesting. Okay, so with that, the only way I did enter us, but we don't qualify yet. We won't qualify until the end of the football season. And how we qualify is every single team needs to make sure that they do not start a player during that player's bye week. Okay? Which means you got to check your lineup every week and make sure that you don't have a player that is sitting on your starting roster that has a bye that week. That's how you actually get officially entered into the contest. So I will be sending out reminders every week to check your lineups and make sure that when the byes start, that your guys aren't on your starting roster that have byes. So pretty slim chance that we'll actually win, but hey, it sounded kind of cool, so I entered us. Also, as I mentioned at the very beginning, I have heard rumors of trade offers and all that kind of stuff, which I love. A lot of activity on the waiver wire also that I've seen, which is also awesome. Another thing is we have our first official water bet. I made a water bet with my wife that I would win, and she made a water bet with me that David Johnson would score more than 15 points. So I won the matchup, so she gets to get water splashed on her from me, but then David Johnson actually scored almost 20 points, scored 19 point something or other, and so she gets to splash water on me. So I will have a completely separate video for the water bet, so I'll get that posted here soon. Also, I made a change in our scoring. It doesn't really affect everybody all that much. It's not a big deal. What it does do is give players like Des Bryant, breeze a blowing, who got 8 yards. Not enough for even a point, so we got a goose egg. But it's kind of unfair because he did have those 8 yards, so technically that is production. So now the scoring system is fractional. So Des Bryant would have had this week 0.8. So it also helps break ties. We shouldn't have ties anymore. And I think that's about it, guys. So look forward to seeing all the matchups this weekend, and I hope you guys have fun. Until next time, good luck.